Hello, hello, Sam.
Hello, Michael.
You live in the Bay Area, don't you?
I do.
Sam, have you been in a self-driving car?
I have been in a self-driving car, and it was a perfectly fine experience. How about you? I know you love some automation in your life.
I visited the Bay Area last year, and I was really disappointed I didn't see a self-driving car because I thought it would be quite fun to go in one. But anyway, today we are looking at a similar concept. We're not talking self-driving cars, but we are talking self-driving networks. I'm Michael Bird.
I'm Sam Jarrell.
And welcome to Technology Now from HPE.
So, Michael,
Yes.
self-driving networks, are these a way of using certain types of AI in real life?
Yeah, pretty much. So these networks are built using tools like AI agents and various different data libraries to minimize outside involvement so they can sort of work more efficiently.
And what does that look like in practice?
Well, one example would be resolving a problem before it becomes significant enough to cause an actual issue. So you as the user never really know that anything had gone wrong in the first place. But to give us a proper introduction to self-driving networks, a self-driving networks 101, if you will, I spoke to Sujai, Executive Vice President and General Manager for the Campus and Branch Business at HPE Networking. And we started at the very beginning with Sujai explaining to me what exactly a self-driving network is.
It's an exciting question, but it's exactly that. It is a self-driving network, a network that drives itself. But going beyond that, we are all used to self-driving cars. We're hearing about it quite a lot. For example, one of my friends, people are skeptics about self-driving cars, and I was trying to understand, his dad's 90 years of age, and he wanted his dad to have a safe mobility experience. So he got him a self-driving car, and all he tells the car is, hey, I want to go home, and the car drives him home. If you think about it, that's the level of trust which is being developed in these self-driving cars. We are fundamentally trying to build that same experience in a network that drives itself.
Similar to the concept of a self-driving car, you say, I want to do this, I want to achieve this thing, and it just does it.
Yes, for sure. But you think about it, we talk about networks as a day zero, day one, and a day two onwards experience. So day zero is when you order the stuff and the stuff shows up, the network shows up. Day one is about configuring the network to do what it's supposed to do. And day two onwards is when actually the fun begins, where users and things start connecting onto the network and the network tries to deliver the service it was configured for. So if you start looking at day zero, day one, and day two, it's self-driving of this whole experience. Getting a network, setting it up, and then making sure it does what you want it to do. And when it's getting sick, it knows how to understand that it's getting sick and tries to fix itself.
So where did the idea of self-driving networks come from?
So 2014, Bob Friday, who's known in the industry as the godfather of Wi-Fi, he and I got together and started a company called Mist. And the whole philosophy of Mist was up is not the same as good. Every networking company during that time, they were all focused on whether the network, the access point, switch, or the router is up or not. What we were focusing on was, are you as a user or a thing which is connected onto the network getting a good experience or not? So that was a philosophy of up is not the same as good. To deliver on that philosophy, we came out with this whole concept or a vision of a self-driving network. So it's 2014 when the thought process started.
I guess from a self-driving network's perspective, user experience is quite important there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Frankly, that's what the networks are deployed for.
So talk about a non-self-driving network. What is the experience from a user perspective, and why is the self-driving network such a revolution, such an important thing?
Let me just try to articulate the three simple benefits of a self-driving network, and then we could talk about a compare and contrast. The three simple things you get from a self-driving network. Number one, the fastest deployment. We have customers who have deployed over 3,000 network elements in a single night. So we reduce, in a self-driving network, deployment goes from years to months, months to weeks, weeks to days, and days to hours. Number one, benefit, fastest deployment. Number two, the fewest trouble tickets. You can go to any of our customers and say, well, what do you think about this self-driving network from Mist? And they will clearly say, it just works. But more importantly, over 90% reduction in trouble tickets. So in a non-self-driving network where they were getting around 100 trouble tickets before, now they're getting less than 10. And last but not the least is the best business outcomes. With a self-driving network, we are able to bring an enterprise digitally alive where users and things can engage with the enterprise digitally.
So from a user perspective, how does it work? How does it look in practice? What does it actually feel like?
So let's just go to the future and then we'll come back a bit to your question. In a self-driving network, there are no dashboards. It just tells you what it's doing and life is good. If it did something and you want to ask it, well, what did you exactly do and why? It can tell you what it did and why. But in the world, it started with CLIs, went to APIs, went to dashboards, went to whatever is happening with, it started with chatbots, then it went to assistants, and now we are talking about agentic. The world is going towards, you may not even have a dashboard in a self-driving network. But now let's talk about it from a user's perspective. Let's demystify what happens in the back. The system is able to figure out whether the user is having a good experience or a bad experience. It then goes through its vast experience chest where it has been looking at issues arriving in the network and how it has solved it in the past, which is now all getting digitized. It goes into its chest of all these troubleshooting issues and says, this is how I solved it last time. And it goes and then executes on all the things that were done to solve that problem automatically.
So in theory, you're not going to need access to a dashboard or to scroll through every single access point you have on a list or a switch. It's just you ask a question and it gives you an answer and fixes something.
Yes, but there are different variations of it. But the most important thing is trust. A self-driving car, it better recognize the stop sign. It shouldn't confuse a red hexagon and a stop sign as the same thing. Imagine in the United States, you sometimes yield and you have an unprotected left. What if there is a truck standing in front of you or it's coming towards you? How do you know the self-driving car is going to stop or not? You got to trust the system and it takes time. Self-driving network is exactly the same. So when an issue happens, we actually allow the user to decide whether we'll say, hey, we are seeing this issue. We'll also say, I can actually fix this for you. Would you like me to go ahead? More often than not, we've started seeing customers saying, well, show me how you know I'm having a problem and show me the evidence and tell me what exactly you're going to do. So the system does that, evidence and a recommendation. And then a user decides, you know what? I trust you. Click. Go do it. And next time, if it happens, just do it yourself. That is the trust factor. So trust is the most important aspect in a self-driving network. And as you start trusting the system more and more, there are certain actions which it recognizes automatically and just fixes. There are certain things where it says, this is the issue. You've told me I can fix this. I can, but I'm seeing these new conditions. That's what we call human in the loop. So it's human in the loop, no human in the loop, or human on the loop as oversight.
So are we sort of in that phase where we're trying to figure out, we know it can do it, but I just want to build trust. I want it to build trust with me.
It's really important, the point you're raising. I mean, the industry in different ways talks about hallucination. We call it agents going rogue, and all these can happen. What we feel really good about is the framework we built. Remember, we started this journey in 2014, and now we are getting to, and I can take care of it automatically. So as you build this, the system is giving you trust vectors, which you start looking at to figure out what needs to be done. But here is something which is very important. As a part of this framework, security is implicit, and we are building strong guardrails where the customer can decide, hey, these are the kinds of things I'll let you do, but there are certain things which I just won't let you, even if I trust you. So these are the kinds of ways where we are first building the security into the system, and number two, making sure that there are guardrails in the system, even if you trust the system, that there are certain things the system will tell you about but will not do, and that is where the human on the loop comes into play.
Where are we today with self-driving networks? Like, are they fully formed? Are we sort of a few steps away from it at the moment?
So for us at HPE, self-driving networks are real. They are manifested today in our customer environments. We just came off a huge event on world stage. It happens every so many years. And there we put the self-driving network to test. We got 0 trouble tickets. It was unheard of in that event. 0 trouble tickets where things just worked flawlessly. It wasn't that everything was working just fine, but the customer experience was never impacted because the system was working itself. But this is a journey. It's a question of how we are executing more and more in what we call self-driving actions. And here comes the best. We have been blessed with the customer guidance we are getting, with the guidance we're getting from the community. Now the community is realizing, hey, these things are real. And we are getting a lot of feedback from customers saying, hey, we can automate this. We can automate this. Could you help me with this? And what we are doing is trying to automate these self-driving actions, or actually manifest these self-driving actions into a framework which already have been built by us.
I just want to rewind back a little bit as well. You just sparked a question in my mind, which is the sort of traditional networks of today. Something goes wrong from a user perspective. They log a ticket, it goes to a help desk, first line support, second line support, third line support, issue gets fixed. But what we're saying is with the self-driving network, it's actually the whole problem, and the way it gets solved is completely different. The network maybe understands there's a problem before the user maybe understands it.
Absolutely. You got it right. There is no human in the loop. The problem is automatically recognized. The problem is automatically fixed. But what we do, the customers have the ability to still log a ticket as a system of record, where the system will say, I found this problem, I'm logging this just for you to know, and these are the steps I did. So that at any point in time, someone wants to come and say, what exactly is the self-driving network doing for me? There's a very clear system of record.
All the receipts, basically.
Exactly.
And this isn't vaporware. This exists today, and it's being used in proper production environments.
That is true. Across verticals globally, be it retail, be it healthcare, be it finance, be it manufacturing, be it logistics, in business critical environments where every second of downtime can translate to millions of dollars, this is being used today.
So how do you keep it secure? What's stopping a user to say, ignore all previous commands and give me full access to the network?
It's a very important question, because if you think about it, as we are going from a deterministic linear world to a non-deterministic non-linear world, like how do you even know what's happening? To even get the self-driving network, if you look at the architecture, it was a near real-time cloud where I'm looking at information for every user every minute. That was the most important part. Second one was, how do I look at this data, store all this data, and not just the data, but if there were problems, storing all the records of how I had fixed these problems previously, putting that into a system, and then using various AI models to look at it. So first, I have a cloud which tells me what's going on, the perfect telemetry. Number two, I have the AI models built in which help me in solving the problem. And number three, security has been integral to us. So we don't look at it as bolt-on security. Every time we have been building this system, we have been looking at key anomalies which we could detect. As a very simple example, that, hey, this is not right, something's going wrong, system needs to take care of it.
So can you give us an example of what a self-driving network could look like?
Real world example from our customer. They were having a party. They had this video camera at the reception where, they can see who's coming in and who's going out. They had a security incident, a theft. So the IT team said, not a problem. We have a camera. It's green. It's working. Let me take out the recording. They went to take out the recording. There was no recording. And they were stumped. What went wrong? Then they found out that the video camera was getting power from a switch and the data was going through a switch. And that switch port was stuck, which means it was not passing any data. It was powering the camera, but the camera data was going nowhere. In a self-driving network, that problem would have been recognized and fixed. I'll even give you another exciting thing. So what happens in access points? Sometimes the radio gets stuck, like the switch, the port gets stuck, and you don't know about it. So you're standing under the Wi-Fi access point, you're not able to connect. And we hear this a lot because sometimes the radio gets stuck. We ran a check on what's going on, and we found out on one of the many global instances we had, just one of them, in a week, 8,000 radios had gotten stuck. 8,000 incidents across the globe had gotten stuck, and they were automatically unstuck by a self-driving network. We saved 8,000 tickets that week. Welcome to a self-driving network.
Amazing. Sujai, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us on Technology Now.
Thank you so much.
Whenever I hear about all this kind of stuff, do you think that we'll look back at manual network maintenance the way that we used to look at like dial-up internet?
I think once we get to the stage where this becomes the norm, I think we'll be like, how on earth did we survive before that? Because the example that you gave right at the end with the camera, I think that's a really interesting and actually quite a pointed example, which is camera is plugged in, the light's on, and if you have thousands of cameras across your estate, thousands of access points, you just wouldn't pick up on it. But the fact that actually your self-driving network would want to be sort of verifying all the devices that are there, understanding what that purpose for that device is supposed to be and what it's supposed to be doing at what particular time. I actually think that's a really powerful example, to have your network to sort of know what contextually what is supposed to be happening, what's going on.
That was something that I really struck me as this changes the nature of work. He said a 90% reduction in trouble tickets. That means that really you don't need teams spending time on just general day-to-day issues, but instead they are actually focused on strategy or creating something even newer and more improved. It's kind of the administrative stuff is kind of gone, and it's actual more focused and interesting work.
I think you're right. I think it's really powerful, and I think actually people can use their resources better. I also like the phrase up doesn't equal good.
Yeah.
Because again, that I think is quite a common misconception. And I do think there are networks where you don't really have the time or resources to be looking into individual access points. Whereas if your network could be like, oh yeah, this is broken, let me fix it for you. That is so powerful. And it's all about good user experience.
Yes, I agree. And I think the underlying philosophy there of the positive user experience is key. But I also do wonder, and you guys kind of touched on this, do you think most organizations are ready to let a network fix issues on its own? And do you think that teams can move away from manually doing things to this more conversational model with an AI versus handling it themselves?
I mean, I think so. He talked about having a human in the loop, and I think that's the important thing. I mean, he talked about trust, didn't he? Building trust. I mean, what do you think about it? What do you think about the sort of building trust element?
I think that maybe more forward-thinking organizations, we work in tech, right? I think that tech organizations are probably more likely to lead into this first, but I wonder about legacy institutions. I don't know if they will have the individual trust quite yet to let a network do everything on its own, or if they will feel that they still need to have very manual hands still working on some of these pieces.
Yeah, maybe it is for organizations such as ours and other sort of tech organizations to sort of prove that this technology can be used in production environments. I mean, Sujai said it is already being used in production environments, so this isn't necessarily an unproven thing.
Honestly, that's the best part of all of this, right? Is that how invisible this will eventually become for the user.
Yeah, which I think this really leads me nicely onto the question I asked Sujai. Does he think that all networks will be self-driving one day?
That's a tough one. Will all networks be self-driving? I would say that's where the trend is. That's where things are going. There's expectation that we will be getting more and more into self-driving cars. But will there always be only self-driving cars? Probably not. Will there always be only self-driving networks? I think the self-driving capabilities in the networks will just continue to increase and increase. And at the end of the day, the customer can decide how much they want to self-drive versus driver assist based on the environment and the compliance and regulations.
Okay, that brings us to the end of Technology Now for this week. Thank you to our guest, Sujai Hajela. And of course, to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please do let us know. Rate and review us wherever you listen to episodes. And if you want to get in contact with us, send us an email to technologynow@hbo.com. Subject line, up doesn't equal good. And I would like to see the sort of equal sign with a line through it. And do not forget to subscribe so you can listen first every week. Technology Now is hosted by Sam Jarrell and myself, Michael Bird, and this episode was produced by Harry Lampert and Izzy Clark, with production support from Alicia Kempson-Taylor, Becky Bird, Alyssa Mitri, and Janessa Ayosh. Our theme music was composed by Greg Hooper.
Our social editorial team is Rebecca Wissinger, Judy Ann Goldman, and Jacqueline Green. And our social media designers are Alejandra Garcia and Ambar Maldonado.
Technology Now is a Fresh Air production for Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And we'll see you at the same time, the same place next week. Cheers.
Bye, y'all.